The script is done, 883 words, within the 900-word target range. Saved at home/jarvisadmin/script Jamison draft, txt. Here's the full narration. In 2009, Bobby Jamison, his wife Sherilynn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madyson left their rural home outside Panola, Oklahoma, on what should have been a short afternoon drive. And then their truck turned up parked in a remote pasture 9 miles away, doors locked, more than $30,000 in cash sitting untouched inside, with search dogs, helicopters, and 200 volunteers combing the surrounding land and finding nothing. And that is the problem. Bobby was 32. He worked construction and had just taken out a loan to start his own excavation business. Sherilynn, 26, stayed home with Madyson, who was 6 and had just started first grade at a small county school. Neighbors described them as quiet, private, close-knit, the kind of family that kept to themselves on 40 acres of pasture and pine scrub in Latimer County. On the morning of October 8th, Bobby withdrew the loan money from the bank in cash. By early afternoon, all 3 were gone. No note, no call. The house was left unlocked, lights on, dinner dishes still in the sink. The last confirmed sighting was Bobby at the bank around 11 that morning. Neighbors say the family's truck passed down the county road sometime after noon. By 4 p.m., a relative stopped by the house and found it empty. The stove was cold. Madyson's school backpack sat by the door, untouched since Friday. Sherilynn's purse was still on the kitchen table, cash and identification inside. Nothing indicated they'd planned to leave. No suitcase was missing. No clothes were packed. The family dog was found later, still on the property, unfed but alive. By the time anyone reported them missing, roughly 18 hours had passed, and whatever window existed to trace their movements in real time had already closed. The first search began within a day. Latimer County deputies, state troopers, and volunteers on foot and horseback swept the family's property and the wooded land around it. Cadaver dogs found no scent trail leading away from the truck, which had been discovered 9 miles from the house, backed into a stand of trees along a seldom-used pasture road. The doors were locked from outside. The keys were never found. Inside, investigators found the loan cash, Bobby's wallet, and a child's blanket folded on the back seat. Helicopters flew grid patterns over 11 square miles. Ponds were dragged. Culverts were checked. Nothing turned up, no footprints leading from the vehicle, no signs of a struggle, no torn clothing snagged on the barbed wire fencing that lined every pasture nearby. 3 people had gotten out of that truck. Not one trace of where they went on foot existed anywhere in the surrounding miles. Investigators' leading theory centered on foul play tied to the loan money, that someone had lured Bobby out with the cash, then eliminated all 3 to remove witnesses. It fit the timeline. It fit the untouched house. A family doesn't walk away from $30,000 and a 6-year-old's blanket without being forced. Detectives looked hard at business associates, at a man Bobby had recently argued with over a work debt, at the loan officer who processed the withdrawal that same morning. For a while, this theory held the case together. It explained the silence. It explained why nobody heard a struggle, why no one saw a car idling on that pasture road. Remember the locked truck, the cash still inside? That detail was supposed to prove they'd been taken against their will. Robbery required the money to be gone. It never was. And the pattern interrupt came 4 years later, when hunters stumbled on skeletal remains in a ravine 3/4 of a mile from where the truck had sat the whole time. Dental records confirmed all 3 Jamisons. The remains were close enough that searchers should have found them in the first sweep, inside the very grid the helicopters had flown in 2009. The medical examiner could not determine cause of death. No trauma to the bones. No bindings, no restraints recovered. If someone had marched a family at gunpoint into that ravine, the physical evidence to prove it simply wasn't there. The theory that had organized the entire investigation collapsed on the one fact that should have confirmed it. What makes this unexplainable isn't that the family died 900 yards from their own truck. It's that the terrain between the 2 points was searched, on foot, by trained cadaver dogs, within 72 hours of the disappearance, and those dogs alerted to nothing. A 6-year-old does not walk 3/4 of a mile through dense pine and briar without leaving a single fiber, footprint, or broken branch a tracker could follow. Either the family was there the whole time and remained undetected by trained search animals, or they arrived later, by some route no one has ever reconstructed, days or years after the search teams had already gone home. The case remains officially unsolved. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation still lists it as an open death investigation, cause and manner undetermined. No arrests have ever been made. The land near Panola has been searched, researched, and searched again. So if the dogs found nothing in 72 hours, where were the Jamisons during those 3 days?